Well, you've caught us finally. The secret is revealed. The reason chapel is so dynamic is because each morning the chaplain and I get out here and throw a rugby ball to each other. We've even known on particularly special occasions to have a full contact version of this, but clearly at the moment with the guidelines in place, that simply wouldn't be appropriate.
Well, good morning. And here we are hitting week 4. I'd like to say term's flying by, but it isn't in quite the way that it usually does. The reason it flies by here, of course, is that so much is going on and you move from one thing to another with a brilliant Uppinghamian energy. I hope you're all well, and I hope that you're in a position at home where you feel that you're doing as much as you can and you're getting as much out of the situation as is possible. I suspect, like me, you're yearning really to get out and do some more. I think the big thing I need to mention this week is that I think you probably know that I record these things on a Friday. And last night, Sunday evening, the Prime Minister made a major announcement about the way that the lockdown is going to be lifted, and there'll be implications for schools. So in a way, whatever I say today would be sort of guessing what the government are going to say. And clearly, were I recording this live, it would probably be too soon to be able to cogitate and reflect on what had been said. But I suspect I'll want to talk to you again during this week once we know where we stand regarding a return to school in June. I think, I really hope that will happen. I think your teachers have been magnificent over the last few weeks, really stepping up creatively to working how we can teach effectively online. But I think I speak for all of us when I say we'd far rather have as many of you here as we can. And it'll be really exciting if we can make that happen.
Just some news on the past few days. Firstly, well done to Lana and Carla Davis, who won the virtual sailing match against MCS. Good to see sport carrying on, albeit in its new virtual form. I hope also you've had a chance to look at Friday's chapel, in which we commemorate VE Day. Hugely important in the history of our country, but of course in our school, where so many past pupils were involved in the Second World War. And of course, Friday night is music night. It's a real success. And the 3rd episode was launched last week, and I know there's some really exciting things to come. So what you can do, of course, in a spare moment, is if you go to our Twitter feed or to our YouTube channel, you'll see that all these films are curated. And excitingly on the Twitter feed, there's some throwbacks to good things that have happened earlier in this year. So do keep in touch that way. There's some really exciting material out there for you to see.
I really want to pay a special tribute to those of you in the exam years, the upper 6th and the upper 5th. You've had 3 weeks in this time of great uncertainty, tying up loose ends, making sure work's finished, showing the best of yourselves and working really hard. What I can tell you is how impressed I am by your commitment. It would have been very easy, I think, for many of you to just give up and throw your hands in the air when you heard what was happening in March. And the fact you haven't done that, and the fact that you've engaged, and the fact that you've carried on working says so much about you as people, your qualities, your depth, your tenacity, your sense of commitment to the community, your buy-in to your teachers and their lessons. I'm really proud of everything that you've achieved. And so we come to the end of your 3 weeks, and we now need, as a teaching staff, to spend the next 2 weeks preparing all of that data that we have in order to submit your grades. That's not an easy proposition. It's a brand new thing and not something we've done before. But all I can tell you is that we have your best interests absolutely at heart, and we recognise how uncertain this time has been for you. Now, of course, I do want to say something really important about the upper 6th. You have been a fabulous group of leaders. I have been so impressed with the way you've handled one of the most difficult years in the school's history, and it really has been that. We think back to the autumn term and what we had to cope with then, and the leadership the captains of school and the pollies and the senior pupils showed was extraordinary, and it was humbling. We didn't think this would be happening. We could never have foreseen it, and yet you've had to lead us through this time as well. And your support for me as the school came to all closure, I thought was enormously important in sustaining us through those times and making sure that we left with the most positive spirit we could. And since then, over the last few days and weeks, you have been equally brilliant. And I thank you enormously for that leadership. And by that I don't just mean the people with glamorous positions as captains of school or as pollies or house captains. I mean you all. You have been a magnificent year group. And as year groups go, you will live long in my memory because of the things you have coped with this year and the standards you have set. You have been inspiring. You've been thoughtful, compassionate, and dynamic. we will make sure, as this term goes on, that we find a way of celebrating that. Because actually, that's the sort of school we are. We know we can celebrate, and Speech Day in the Tent is just a wonderful example of the richness and the spirit of our community. So we will find a way at the end of this term of marking what's gone on. We are the sort of place that is full of energy and dynamism. We're creative, and that's what our Speech Day testifies to. So this year we'll find a way of doing that through a virtual Speech Day, a way of recognising the achievements of so many of you in the school, and of course marking the exit of our upper sixth, who have been a group of absolutely stunning leaders at a time of great demand. So here we go into week 4. We continue to make the most of everything that we have available to us, and we know that during this week there'll be a chance for me to be able to relay some really important news. I think you know that I hope the government holds its nerve and allows schools like ours to plan sensibly and safely for a return after half term. And I really hope that is an option for those 3 year groups who can come back. You are missed and we'd love to see you again. But at the same time, I know that you'll make the most of what we have, and I look forward to being able to give you some updates during this week. But in the meantime, keep on going. There's fantastic things happening, and you and my colleagues are doing a brilliant job.